Wait, I'm the rookie? But my features and my shows 10 times as paid? Give me that phone so I can throw it. I want to throw it far away so you never see it again. Don't miss the party tonight. Why are you still here?
So it's pretty inevitable at some point in your life, you will have a crash out. This used to be called not having a great time, maybe even a bout of depression. But because buzzwords have infected every single facet of the human language, like for example, TSPMO, wilted flower emoji. Now, if you do anything out of the norm, or you elevate your voice beyond a certain decibel threshold, it's a crash out. Now, Lil Nas X, this is a rapper, very famous guy, but you probably haven't heard of him in the last couple of years. Now, Nas hasn't been doing too great. He's been having his own crash out, and there have been some updates since, which I will be going over. But, you know, to introduce Nas, as you know, he was basically one of the few people to blow up on TikTok all the way back in 2019. This was with other people as well, like, for example, Doja Cat, Oliver Tree. These were a lot of like creators that tended to work with the muggles of the industry, the e-celebs, like for example, you know, YouTubers, other influencers. I hate the word influencer so much. I mean, a good example now of like a modern Lil Nas, I'd say, is someone like BB No Money, because he primarily works with either people in like fandoms or communities to spread there, and also YouTubers as well. And how dare he backstab Asmongold like that, removing him from his music video? How could... Now, the song that put Lil Nas on the map was Old Town Road, and oh my god, man, this was like the Zuma equivalent of Despacito or like Gangnam Style. You could not escape this. There was like 60 remixes of this song, and obviously the way that TikTok works, the way you go viral is by using a song. That's probably now why you'll hear certain memes like, "Nothing beats a jet to holiday," while you watch like a man getting his skull caved in. You know, get it? Ironic, because it's happy music and something bad's happening. But that's the way that you grow on the platform. You use viral sounds. Usually you can make your own sounds. There's not a very high chance that that'll work. To get into the algorithm, you basically need to pander. But that's the same with anything. That's the same with what YouTubers do. It's the same as what I do. You know, I talk about topics on this channel that you don't care about, I don't care about. You probably got me on the second fucking monitor while you're playing Siege during drone phase. Jesus Christ, get off your phone. If any of you are like playing a game and you've got me on second monitor and you're scrolling like Reels or TikTok, you should be hung. I'm not even going to say in a video game. That is like, and then you're self-diagnosed with ADHD, by the way. Pathetic. Now, Old Town Road was meant to be this kind of like ironic country song, and it was unfortunately snubbed on the Billboard Top 100 country songs. But then he did do another follow-up song called Montero. It wasn't as popular, but it still got him more than that kind of 5 seconds of fame, because again, as we know in the TikTok industry, more than anything else, you will get one viral banger and you'll just cling to it for dear life, because you try anything else, you don't get views. I mean, a good example here of someone that gets really burnt out with the bit is someone that I watched kind of on and off on TikTok. He was called Charlie the Commentator. He was this guy, very zesty individual, and he would always like ironically commentate over like FIFA and other stuff like that. He had a great personality, but he was stuck doing one bit because that's what made him famous. He couldn't do anything else. And then he actually made this like pretty candid, open and honest video where he talked about how he was legitimately suffering with depression. And the thing is, his character was baked under so many layers of irony. I watched it for like 5 seconds and actually thought he was doing a bit, but he wasn't. He was being completely genuine and basically saying, I'm not happy doing this. I've been happy for a long time. I'm going to drop the Charlie the Commentator bit. And thankfully, there is still some level of consciousness on the internet, because he was given nothing but like praise and support.
So if you haven't seen the clip already, I have been very depressed these last couple of months. It's been very, very bad. And I just didn't want to live anymore on this earth. A lot of the time I've been masking it as this Charlie the Commentator, which, if you haven't found out, is a character. So as for Charlie the Commentator is dead now. He's just the past, he's a character. So yeah, that gets into my next point of what's next for the channel, what's next for me, what's next for my life. TikTok is going to be the real me.
Now, going back to Lil Nas, the problem is when you have so many bangers, you can't keep going up. It's like the YouTube studio. Ooh, I got a 1 out of 10. YouTube gives me a little confetti. Thank you. Thank you, my CEO overlords. But you can't keep getting 1s out of 10s. You can't keep getting bangers. Eventually, you're going to slump. This is why a lot of people in the music industry, they'll release an album maybe every 4 years if they're not completely corporate, and they pump them out basically every 3 months. So now people basically claim that Lil Nas is like fell off, but the thing is, like, to fall off in the first place, you need to be in a place of relevancy, which he was, but it was that level that you just legitimately cannot sustain. I actually saw a video from a YouTuber called Tirzu, and he said that the average lifespan of a YouTuber is 7 years. I've been doing this 8 years. So there was this clip of Lil Nas going around, apparently having a crash out, walking down the streets of LA at 4 in the morning, wearing nothing but his underwear and a pair of boots. He's singing and acting incredibly confident for someone who's basically just nearly naked in public. Now, some guy pulls over and instead of like offering him support, immediately starts recording him, probably to get his TMZ paycheck. He's talking about a party, like I said, even inviting the guy that's filming to come and join him.
Nah, hey. Don't be late to the party tonight.
Where at?
You know where it's at.
And he's like switching in and out of this kind of like agitated state, but this also kind of calm state as well. Like, you know, he'll tell the guy to stop recording, put the phone down, or he'll pay him for the recording, but then also asking him to come to the party as well.
Didn't I tell you to put the phone down? Uh-oh, somebody's gonna have to pay for that. Da, da, da. Pay for it by coming to the party.
So soon after, the LA police did actually come down to the scene. That's because they got multiple reports of this naked guy walking around Ventura Boulevard. It should also be noted as well that there were also reports of people seeing Lil Nas on the Studio City area, which is like a 2-hour walk by foot. So if he was doing all of this on foot, he was walking the streets for a good few hours. So when the officers found Lil Nas, apparently he charged at them. So they kind of had to subdue him and then charge him, place him in handcuffs. And there were also paramedics called out as well because they believed that at the time he was going through like some kind of like drug overdose, which to be fair, I can totally understand the point of view there, because again, if you have someone walking down the streets, you know, like basically naked, incredibly confident, that's basically the opposite of how everyone acts in real life. And then also it's revealed that Lil Nas was actually under arrest for battery of a police officer. So during the encounter, he didn't actually just rush the officers, but he punched a cop twice in the face as well. So as of writing this, he is still being held in police custody and without bail. And of course, what happens next? The public have their say. I don't like the public very much. So there have been like so many game theories about this. It's been hard to keep track of them. A lot of people have said that this guy is someone that works with the devil, so he deserves everything that was coming to him, because as you know, in some of his like music videos, he's kind of been like either represented as the devil or rising up the devil. Now, one of the biggest theories, which is like the most obvious, is that he was on drugs. He was definitely on drugs doing this. That's why he was doing all this like insane erratic stuff. Now, I will get into it later because there is a lot more to it than that, surprisingly, because at the time, police officers thought he was overdosing. They took him to a hospital. And also in the past, Lil Nas has been very open about his poor relationship in drugs. Like, for example, back in 2020, he did an interview with Variety, and he said that when he was coming up to fame, he was surrounded by death. You had XXX Tentacion, you know, who was shot to death outside of a dealership. Juice WRLD died of an overdose, and also his grandmother, who sadly passed away. And all of this sent him into a spiral. He basically said that he was a hypochondriac. You know, he thought he had conditions that he didn't actually have. So because of this, he started to self-medicate a lot, usually by smoking an unhealthy amount of weed. And he's also been very open about his use of psychedelic mushrooms. That was whilst he was creating his second album, Montero. Now, believe me, I'm not going to get into the grand debate of if weed is good or bad for you, but if you're smoking enough to basically give you some kind of psychosis, that's probably not very good. Now, a lot of people were convinced that this was an overdose, but at the same time, it doesn't look like an overdose. It just seems to me that he was having a legitimate full-on mental breakdown, whether or not he actually had drugs in his system. I mean, it's not a stretch to say that if you're getting up at 4 in the morning, walking down the streets of LA, of all places, actual hellhole cesspit during the day. I mean, I'm in Australia at the minute. You walk around here at night, you get a lot of crackheads. Dude, I was out on a walk the other night because I was working late into the night and I wanted to, you know, get out for a bit. I just went on a walk on my own, like 10-kilometer walk, about 2 hours at like 1 in the morning. It was a great walk, you know, loved it. And then as soon as I get back home, there's this guy at the end of the street and he's like walking. I'm not joking you. He's like walking into the road like this, you know, like some kind of weird day walker, just walking around like this, right? And then he's here. And then I look at him and it's like he could feel me looking at him. He just goes, boom. And then he starts like doing this weird little spider crawl to me or something. It was horrible. Thankfully, I've got a security door, so I was able to actually lock the guy out. So basically, when I got back from that walk, I was simulating Five Nights at Freddy's 1 with a security shutter. But anyways, less about that. I mean, as well, he legitimately might have just been having a complete manic episode. I mean, you know, when you have a manic episode, it's officially stated that you have an abnormally high level of energy or activity, feeling extremely happy or excited, not sleeping, having inflated self-esteem, thinking you're invincible, being more talkative than usual, displaying purposeless movements such as pacing around your home or office or fidgeting when you're sitting, or showing impulsive behavior leading to poor choices. I feel like a lot of this stuff everyone goes through, but you'll go through it for like 2 minutes. This is like you have a workout for an hour and then you feel like I could do anything for like 2 minutes. This is something that lasts several hours and it keeps escalating and it keeps getting worse. It's basically the equivalent of the guy that has an argument with himself in the shower that he always wins. But when he gets out the shower, he keeps having the argument and then he goes out and actually takes it upon himself to have that argument with people on the streets. Now, that was the scientific deduction of what happened. A mental breakdown, which happens a lot in that industry. And if you're at that level of fame, and obviously that was like 1% of the people that were saying that. The rest was saying that this was like some kind of bizarre marketing ploy. You know, like Lil Nas has fallen off. He needs something big to put him back in the spotlight. His manager told him to have a mental breakdown. I mean, for example, he actually released an album earlier this year, but it didn't perform nearly as well as his previous projects. I didn't even know that he released the album. I mean, some of these songs only broke like 1 million streams, which again, for like 99% of people is phenomenal. But, you know, you could be someone that's always kind of like chasing that dragon. You always want to do like bigger and better. And then also on top of that, as well as Instagram was completely cleared, which I will now dub a Kanye moment, trademarked. And what a lot of artists actually do is they wipe their Instagram where they're kind of like teasing the beginning of like a new era or to signal like a new album that's releasing. He also posted before a unheard of song on his Instagram featuring Lil Jon, which a lot of people thought that this is a marketing tactic. And I mean, I can see why people think this, because we are in the year of the clip farm. The year of the dragon, the year of the clip farm. You know, you got the Chinese zodiacs, you got like the ox, you got the rat, and then you have the clip farmer. But what a lot of these producers do is incredibly low cost tactics to get insane results in virality. Because again, virality is everything. If it stops you scrolling for 5 seconds, you'll pay attention to it, and that's a success for them. The funny thing is, I did actually see this one news report from this guy the other day, and he was basically talking about how when you post pictures of like your food or events, it feels like it's kind of worthless now because it's being buried under this like myriad of like AI content, clip farming, and then like, you know, what's the point in me posting these eggs Benedict that I made when you've got like this paid influencer who's making it his job to make this viral content, who's doing like, I prepared an egg in a $1 way or a $10,000 way. You know, it just feels like anything you post now is like almost kind of pointless. So that's why people get sick of this marketing. And that's why a lot of people, I mean, for example, when you're scrolling on like Reels or TikTok, if you see an ad, you'll scroll, right? But if you see an ad that's almost promoted as like an anti-ad, like attacking the product, or it's disingenuous, then it kind of interests you. It's just a tale as old as time. I feel like as humans, we get adjusted to things. I mean, you know, we had like the Wild West era of films, then we had the sci-fi, and now we've got the Cape shit. The Cape shit will probably last a lot longer than most of the other eras that we've had. But the point I'm trying to make is now we're in this era where with marketing, especially with musicians, artists, they need to kind of generate as much attention as possible in the most insincere way. Am I saying that this is what's happened with Lil Nas? No, I think this is a legitimate manic breakdown that he's had. But we've actually reached this point now of saturation where people think that this is essentially a clip farm. And this isn't like relatively new either. I mean, a good example is Old Spice, right? Like Old Spice body deodorant. It's shit. It's some of the worst deodorant you can use. But it doesn't matter because back in 2010, they had these insane adverts. It's almost like if you make something that has like 1% to do with the product instead of 99%, it's going to sell well. And that's why people saw Lil Nas having a breakdown and it's like, wait, man has a breakdown? I'm engaged. Oh, it's Lil Nas. Oh, I might listen to his music now. I mean, not all kind of abnormal marketing has been bad. I mean, a good example that I always think of is when David Lynch was promoting his film Inland Empire that I still need to watch. This was a guy who made a film with basically zero budget, and most films nowadays, they have like half the budget put into the film, half the budget put into the marketing to make sure that everyone sees it, or at least like a good 2/3 put into marketing. David Lynch didn't do that, so he instead just got this billboard and he rented like a cow. It's like the most David Lynch thing imaginable. I want to nominate Laura Dern for her performance in my film Inland empire. I like the bit where David Lynch is just sat in the back of his car and he's like, I'm so depressed, I don't know what to do. What if I made this film and it was all filmed on a camcorder? Like what the TikTok kids use. That would be a very good idea.
If you want to see the greatest performance of 2006, check out Laura Dern's performance in Inland Empire.
Why a lot of people thought this was fake as well is because in the past, Lil Nas has also been like a Twitter and a TikTok shit poster. He basically built up his audience through shit posting before he even started to release music properly. But again, at the same time, like the guy was charged with like, you know, charging up to police officers. There's no way that this is staged. Now, the final excuse that I've seen some people talk about is saying that this is a punishment from God because in 2019, Lil Nas came out as gay, which is very surprising. I had no idea that he was gay. I would not be able to tell that he was a gay man from his demeanor, his expressions, the way he handles his music videos. I genuinely believe that he was a completely heterosexual man. Very surprised there. I'm very happy he came out. But when he came out as gay, he basically started to like radically switch up his brand image. And obviously he got a lot of backlash as well for being gay. Like for example, the music video Montero, Call Me By Your Name. He's actually depicted pole dancing his way to hell. And he gives Satan a lap dance. That's before killing Satan and then wearing his horns. Supposedly becoming like the new leader of hell. And then there was another music video he made called J Christ. And he dresses up as Satan and God also shows him being crucified like Jesus. He also does this like Noah's Ark bit as well. And then in that same music video, he shows who I assume to be Obama, Kanye West, Michael Jackson, all being in heaven. And then obviously, which I talked about earlier, there were the Satan shoes. He did also do the Jesus shoes, but most people focused on the Satan shoes. These are basically custom Air Maxes with like a satanic twist. There was like a little pentagram. There was some inverted crosses, 666s, and there was a entry from Luke 10:18, which is a reference from the Bible where Jesus claims to have seen Satan fall from heaven. And apparently each one of these shoes contained a real drop of human blood. Now, the thing is, I'm gonna soy a little bit here. I remember seeing these shoes and I thought they looked really cool. Not the Satan shoes. They look like shit you can get from like JD Sports. They look complete ass. But the Jesus shoes, like the white on them, and also apparently it's got holy water inside, despite the fact that it's going to turn green. I don't know. I kind of wear like black pants a lot, so I feel like white shoes kind of like accompany that well. But yeah, I don't know. I've never seen a drop before where one shoe is like TS so buns. I can't believe I said that. Wilted rose emoji. But then the Jesus shoes, they do actually look pretty cool. So obviously because of this Satan shoe and him like rimming Satan or whatever, a lot of people are saying that like this is God punishing him. I mean, to me personally, if anything, I think the whole kind of music video itself is a little bit soy. But it's, to me, it's obviously someone that's trying to get back at the system, because the problem is once you say you're gay, like there will be a huge community of people in the real world and on the internet that just, they will not fuck with you. They will absolutely vilify you, no matter whether you pander or you don't. They will see that as basically you having an opinion on something, almost like if you're left-leaning or right-leaning. You know, it's like sexuality is basically a political statement now, which is great. So in my opinion, it was Lil Nas being like, yeah, fuck it, you're gonna hate me anyway, time to troll. Now, there has been a few updates with Lil Nas Soy since I recorded this video. He's pleaded not guilty to charging at the police officers, and to show that this is legitimately real and this wasn't a clip farm, his dad actually came out and spoke on Lil Nas's behalf, basically saying, I understand how the music business is. It's like a high. When you get to that level, you want to do the drug again and you want to hit that high again. And then Nas also put out a video himself, very quick video, basically just saying that that was terrifying, not really saying anything else.
That was fucking terrifying. That was terrifying. That was a terrifying last 4 days. But your girl is gonna be all right.
But it seems to me that he was having a legitimate mental breakdown. He just snapped one night, and they actually did tests on Lil Nas, and they found that there were no drugs and no alcohol in his system at all. So this was just a completely sober, legitimate breakdown, which if anything is, I feel that's even worse. Like if there was drugs, you could almost just blame the drugs. Well, obviously he's the one taking them, but at the same time, it's like there's a cause there, right? There's a reason for that breakdown. But the fact that it was sober, like that's even more sad. His dad also coming out and saying that, you know, we all have breakdowns every now and then. And that's why I begun the video by saying we all go through crash outs all of us, no matter what level we are, you know, like everyone will go through some kind of hardship, some kind of mental breakdown. But the thing is, when you're someone like Lil Nas, who's incredibly famous and successful, that's going to be televised and shown everywhere. When on that same night, there was probably 30 other people doing it in LA, but because no one knows who they are, they'll never be documented and TMZ won't record them.